I remember this one time being moved to tears by a message from a newfound friend, banal in content, but addressed to Liebe Moon, the German feminine, and I started to know what it is to be seen. I remember this one time realising that shame is black mould, breeding in the recesses of the mind, and that the only way to banish and own it is to dredge it up into the light. I remember this one time sitting in the office of the crisis intervention ward, having broken down yet again, being grilled and postulated by a cheap facsimile of a late-night second-rate talk show host with the audacity paperwork to proclaim himself head psychiatrist. A beacon of unchecked privilege, posing cryptic questions, drawing arrogant conclusions, cocksuredly questioning whether my femness is really my identity or just a rocky horror picture thing. I remember this one time walking half the breadth of Berlin, fueled with bile and adrenaline, feeling the foundations falling into place with the clear assertion that I will no longer sacrifice the beauty of my healing on the altar of any fucker's ignorance. I remember this one time staring myself down in the mirror, not caring for myself if I fem up or not, but thinking of the first few days of my transition, taking strength from the inspirational trans women on public transport, living their best lives proudly. Taking up the mantle of dismantling stigma, knowing what strength I am paying forwards to the beautiful trans souls not yet empowered to take their first steps. I remember this one time leaving my house in autumnal tones, face unshaved, owing no one the full ease of feminine code. Meeting the dubious gaze of one of two old Berlinerin ladies, and in passing without passing, embracing my breath for ridicule and laughing, she leans into her friend and says, "Damn, she looks good." I remember this one time in the club looking fine when a beautiful black girl approached me and asked if she may touch my hair. The irony of which was lost on the sea of our innocence, to be discovered recounting the story to Amelia after experiencing Christine in Berghain on a Wednesday night. I remember this one time having an after party at mine at 9 for a 2CB and acid Sunday day before merry prankstering the fuck out of a cis-het norm open mic. Queer tripping and trolling, playing hipster songwriter bingo. Flat cap, check. Flannel shirt, check, acoustic guitar and a neck tattoo, singing a song of Suck My Cock, cause look, I had an emotion. House! Well, I'd actually rather just do another line and go home by 3 for the 4-way adjacent play that passes in the wank of an eye and turns into a Monday written off like a pre-Nanette Hannah Gadsby would have her story's endings. I remember this one time, finger fucking so long and so hard I needed a massage for my aching arm, and whilst kneading the knots from my hands and wrists she whispered, "Welcome to the life of a lesbian." I remember this one time, leaving Griesmüller, having lost myself in dancing movements I didn't know I had. Eyes closed, back against the wall, my body rolling, hips, thighs, lips slipping and sliding through entrances, mixes upon mixes, and upon opening my eyes to a dozen onlookers, was free of bashfulness, not breaking stride, riding high on big bass lines for hours, clocking up 20,000 steps before arriving home in a triggered, teary mess, preparing to march for trans pride, but deciding I can't go, because I'm not strong enough, I'm not dysmorphic enough, I'm not pained enough, I'm not trans enough, I'm just not yet proud enough. So distracted myself with songs I've not sung since my last life, I set the Sunday Slips open mic on fire. Having not slept in over 40 hours, I walked home, what's happening, with the love of this life now. Crashed out at 6, woke at 5, recrashed at midnight to wake at 4 p.m. on a Tuesday afternoon, and only then did I notice that I'd forgotten my ukulele at the bar. I remember this one time being asked what I do, and the only answer I could give was that I struggle. I remember this one time watching a cis boy take down the patriarchy by taking up space on a stage, lecturing queers and women on the evils of unchecked privilege. By walking the walk of being woke whilst walking his words right down our throats, choking on his ego, gloating on his ignorance that allies make space, not take it, step aside and not in line, and build platforms, not performances, on the backs of our indignities. I remember this one time sat in a cafe talking breakups and breakdowns, realising that the human condition can be boiled down to 4 words: great ideals, shit implementation. I remember this one time walking arm in arm with a coffee-turned dinner date, hearing her hesitate to delicately broach the physicalities of my trans sexuality, to which I cut to the chase by simply stating, I love having a cock and I love fucking with it. I remember this one time, walking back from the club through Gurley at 4 p.m. on Sunday afternoon, ketamine come down and post-orgasmic from I don't know how many pushes of my buttons. Meeting eyes with a judgmental cis-het dick-wagger, realising it wasn't just the look that I gave that wilted his swagger, but the full-blown composition of my transcendental worth. My now fuzzy curled mane, haloed by the sun over my shoulder, my body drawing a new line, an exciting feminine code, rewritten in the subtlest variations, in gait and in grace, and backdropped by the V-formed skyline of the tree-lined bowl in my core, section in gold, demanding my challenge be seen and be known and be felt with a look that screamed, I dare you question my beauty, knowing full well he didn't have the balls. I remember this one time birthing the first poem I had written in a decade, dragging an audience through the cracked and bloodied chrysalis of my inception, hearing tearing eyes from the stage as my words cleaved 3 decades of shame from my soul, by resigning myself to being proud, because I had got nothing left to do but to not bow back down. I remember this one time, my housemate mousedly, timidly requesting that myself and my lover not do the loud slapping things during the visit from her mother. I remember this one time, high on ketaminic confusion after a night in Greece Müller, spending an hour or more contorting connotations whilst writing a message to Cecile that ended up reading, I remember this one time washing up on the shore of a lazy Sunday afternoon, debating with myself the implications of the grammar of a message I would write to Cecile for an hour or more before deciding I should just let her know I had thought of her and wished her well, because it is the thought that counts. Facepalm emoji. And then upon sending it, then checked as obsessively as possible, but needing to know that she had received it, needing to know that she had got it, because she gets it and she gets me, and there is no one else in the world I would want to be able to write to in such a way. I remember this one time fooling around with a real cute dancer on the first ever Molly High, her fears about which I'd coached her through as the first person I'd spoken to of the evening, moving through an enticingly slow build-up of chemistry, casually dropping in that I can have panic attacks in intimate situations. Not that I expect us to get heavy, but she should be able to make an informed consent, and I saw it make her hotter for me. I remember this one time, sitting in my dentist chair, in awe of her 60-plus years of Grace Kelly meets Marlene Dietrich, but born in East Berlin, letting her in on my blood levels and letting her double up on lidocaine, blushing hard as she asked me if I'm an acrobat, because I have such a fine physique, and even harder upon admitting that yes, it had indeed been yet another very long weekend. I remember this one time.